This is HuffPost Live. I'm Ricky Camilleri. Hundreds of nude photos of celebrities ranging from Oscar winner Jennifer Lawrence to supermodel Kate Upton were posted online after their personal devices were hacked. And while the theft made headlines around the world, perhaps the most shocking part of the developing story is the response to it. Take a look at some of the social media reaction. First up, Ricky Gervais, who was one of the first famous faces to post about the incident, and also show us exactly how not to react. He said, "Celebrities make it harder for hackers to get nude pics from your computer by not putting nude pics of yourself on your computer." There were also responses like this one. "What example are female celebrities setting for young women by taking nude pics? Hashtag responsibility." And one more. "You are a celebrity, you are a target of spying, stalking, etc. Don't take nudes and expect them to never leak." So why are so many people seemingly easily, blaming the victims here? Does it have to do with celebrity culture, or is it a pervasive misogyny we've seen time and time again, especially with the response to revenge porn? Don't take pics if you don't want them seen. Joining us now to discuss the larger problems the celebrity nude photo hack is bringing to light, we have Carrie Goldberg, an attorney who specializes in internet privacy and sex crimes, Martin Bryant, the editor-in-chief of The Next Web, and joining us on the phone, we have Charlotte Laws, an anti-revenge porn activist, and also in the Hangout, we have Marianne Franks, an associate professor of law at the University of Miami School of Law and the vice president of the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative. Everybody, welcome. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, thanks.
So, Marianne, start with you. Why does it seem so many people respond to this by blaming the celebrities? Going back to the question I asked before, do you think it is celebrity culture, or do you think it is pervasive misogynist culture?
It clearly is both. What we're looking at is the same response that non-famous revenge porn victims face all the time, that this is somehow their responsibility. And that's an interesting word that person used in the tweet, the idea of responsibility applying to a woman not being allowed to take pictures of herself, as opposed to responsibility for not engaging in non-consensual sexual activity. So you have this intersection between pervasive misogyny, sexism, this idea that women should always be blamed for what happens to them. And that's in combination with this unbelievable resentment that people have towards celebrities for being all the things that we want celebrities to be: beautiful and famous and inaccessible. So you put those two together, you get this really toxic combination of I want to have this person, or I want to show this person who's boss. And it's not just about the celebrity issue. It's an incredibly upsetting message to send that really, when it comes down to it, if you're a woman, your body is supposed to be in the public domain. And no matter what you do, you are supposed to be responsible for any terrible thing that happens to you.
Carrie, you work in law specifically in regards to this. Is this a sentiment common in your care as well? Quicker to blame the rich and famous, quicker to blame the person who took the photo rather than the person who hacked the photo, shared the photo, made money off of the photo?
It's a very, very common reaction to blame the victim. I've had lawyers tell me that my 13-year-old victim of revenge porn was a stupid idiot. And energy really isn't on condemning the men and the boys who, in most situations, are the bad actors here. The energy really is so focused on victim blaming. It's pathetic.
There was an incident, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pulling this off the top of my head. This isn't information that a producer gave me, so it's going to be quite vague. So hold on to your hats, everybody. But there was an incident, I believe, in Canada where a young girl was victim to theft of photos that she was taking. She was then blackmailed, and she eventually committed suicide. It took essentially her suicide for people to say, this is wrong. Her photos should not have been taken. She should not have been blackmailed. No one, for some reason in this situation, said she shouldn't have taken those photos to begin with. Does it take something so drastic like a suicide for people to recognize when someone is being sexually exploited? Carrie, I'll pose that to you.
I would say yes. But I would say in that situation, even the 13-year-old's suicide really hasn't taught us that there needs to be reform and that punitive measures really need to be focused on the perpetrators here. We still don't have very many laws here in the United States that do outlaw this. We have 14 states now that have punitive measures, but it's still illegal to harass people using non-consensual pornography.
The suicide of Audrey Potts in California was what prompted Senator Anthony Cannella to bring forth California legislation. So, yes, the suicides actually do make a difference when it comes to political action. At least it used to. I think now legislators are really embracing the issue and understanding there need to be criminal laws in place, and what we currently have on the books is not sufficient.
Absolutely. Martin, I've had a problem with the word leak used in regards to this situation. Leak to me means that the person who has the photos made some kind of mistake. They uploaded them to the wrong place. They leaked them by accident. It is essentially a theft. But walk me through how this happened, and walk me through how the word leak has become so synonymous with this kind of situation.
Well, I think in this case, we don't know the specific details of what happened, but it's looking like it's some kind of brute force attack on a cloud storage service or multiple cloud storage services using guesses at passwords to try and break in. So if someone has a very common password or a pretty common password, you can set up computer programs. One was found yesterday that had been used to attempt to break into Apple iCloud accounts, for example. And it's a possibility that it was involved in this particular case. So it's basically beating down a door that has a pretty poor lock attached to it is essentially what happened here by the looks of it, although we still don't know for sure. In terms of the word leak, so it is theft, as you say. In terms of the word leak, I think people maybe associate things like WikiLeaks or Edward Snowden, where there's obviously something that's more of a leak. Someone's private photographs, that's theft. That's plain and simple.
Now, I want to pull up a comment right now from our community. Our community is chiming in. A lot of them feel the same way so many people on the internet do right now, which is don't take photos. I personally disagree with that completely. Tyrone says, yes, have people not learned that you shouldn't put anything on the internet that you don't want anyone else to have? If you must take pics, use a Polaroid and lock them in a safe. Now, there's a tweet that came out from Mary Elizabeth Winstead, an actress whose photos were hacked, were stolen, and were posted, where she says, if we can pull up the Mary Elizabeth Winstead tweet, where she says essentially that these photos were deleted a long time ago. So these were not even put on the internet, Martin, right? These were photos that were deleted a long time ago. How were they still able to access them if they had been deleted?
I would love to be able to tell you. It's one of those things where it's still being unpicked by security experts and the like. I mean, it could be that if you look at, for example, things that are stored on Facebook, if you delete them, they're not necessarily deleted by Facebook. They're just hidden. We've had cases where people have requested data from Facebook and it's come.
Carrie, I want to go to you because something that you. Oh, sorry, Martin, you cut off. I thought that you were done. Carrie, I want to go to you. You brought up, you wrote a blog post about how people are contributing illegally to these crimes by just looking. Can you talk to me how some people, even though they may not have been the ones who have hacked, but they're sharing these photos on Twitter, they're sharing these photos on Facebook, they're even just clicking on them to look at them, how they could be a part of the problem, a part of the crime, if you will?
Yeah, so just to be clear, I think people who are retweeting, who are viewing the pornographic images for their pleasure, who are providing links to them on their posts, I think they're contributing to the moral culpability of the overall problem. I'm not claiming that they are actually punitively liable for anything. Right now, not very many laws do extend to redistributors, but certainly if there wasn't a market for the images, it's an issue of supply and demand.
Absolutely.
I want to make a comment regarding your the earlier comment regarding don't take the photos in the first place. Would that person still say that if it had been a credit card number that was stolen, or if it had something to do with online banking? Would they say to the victim, well, it's your fault, you shouldn't have used your credit card online, or you shouldn't be doing online banking? They wouldn't say that, and that's why this is clearly misogyny. It's clearly a hatred of women. It's harkens back to the days of rape victims, and that's why I call this cyber rape. It's a sex crime.
Well, Charlotte, your daughter was the victim of hacking, and you had to fight hard to stop the guys who were doing it. Do you mind telling us your story?
Well, she had taken some pictures about a little over 2.5 years ago in her room with her cell phone in the mirror, and one of those pictures was topless. She sent them to her computer through her email, and 3 months later she was hacked, and the topless picture was uploaded to isanyoneup.com, which was the most notorious revenge porn website. And someone else we knew was also hacked at the same time by the same hacker. And so it became very clear to me that there was some kind of hacking scheme, and I started contacting people who appeared on the website and to find out exactly how they got there. And 40% of those people told me they had been hacked. 12% had been photoshopped. So in other words, there was no nude picture of them, but their head had been put with a nude body, but they had been loaded along with their name and their employment and their social media and all of their personal information onto the website. And so as I gathered all of these individuals, I then contacted the FBI and gave them the names and numbers and all the contact information for the various victims I had found, and they took up an investigation. And in January, Hunter Moore and the alleged hacker he had hired, and Hunter Moore was the website owner of isanyoneup.com, they were arrested by the FBI, and the trial is set to begin on November 18th in Los Angeles.
But there were some difficult bridges for you to cross to get to that point. It wasn't easy convincing law enforcement officials to take up the case, right?
It was extremely difficult. LAPD did the victim blaming. It was a female detective, and she basically insinuated that it was Kayla's fault, and they didn't really want to take the case, although they had agreed to do it, but they were not really wanting to do it. The FBI initially, I don't believe, wanted to take the case. They wanted me to file a report through their website. And I actually said, I see you help Scarlett Johansson when her pictures get hacked, but you don't help the average person. And that's when they sighed and said, just a minute, let me connect you to a detective. And I had 3 FBI agents. In fact, it's the same FBI agents who are investigating this particular case of the 101 celebrities who were hacked. It's the same individuals who investigated my daughter's case. And these individuals came to the house, and they were wonderful, energetic, young guys, savvy with the Internet. I have full confidence that they will find the hacker or hackers in this particular case. And I was able to convince the FBI to take the case because at that point I had a 12-inch file full of names of victims and all sorts of information, and they realized it wasn't just my daughter who had been hacked. There were people all over the United States. And so they decided to investigate, and I'm really glad they did.
Absolutely. Marianne, I want to bring up a point. It's a bit of a devil's advocate point. It's not necessarily how I feel as the person talking about this with you guys. But essentially, people would say that you're a celebrity, you're already the target of spying, of hacking, you should be more careful. Now, in a situation like Charlotte is talking about with her daughter, I think people would be more likely to sympathize simply because she is not a celebrity. She is just a young girl who was taking photographs, was messing around on the computer. Whereas it comes to celebrities, it's like you should expect less privacy because of your career. Don't expect more sympathy when something like this happens.
I think that's an incredibly disturbing sentiment. What you're really saying, and really, let's be honest, I mean, what people are saying here is not just about celebrities. The people who blame celebrities for this happening are the same people who blame women for any woman for what's happened to her. This is at its foundation really about blaming women for whatever happens to them. And I think it would be really useful to think about why we wouldn't say that, or we'd be uncomfortable saying that, as Charlotte mentioned, in a financial context. But let's talk about another example, if I can. If we know, for instance, that police are racist and that they're stopping and frisking, let's say, racial minorities more than everybody else, is the answer for racial minorities to stop walking down the street? Or is the answer for the police force to stop being racist? it's really striking how when it comes to women, we will have an endless supply of things to tell them that they should not do, not recognizing the irony that we're saying this in a culture where we tell people they're free to do what they want to do. We have freedom of expression. We're supposed to have a right to privacy. But the immediate response when it's something terrible that happens to women and it involves sex is your fault, your fault, your fault. You should have done everything. Now, as to whether or not celebrities have a reduced expectation of privacy, I don't even know what that means. I think that's really people saying that they get to choose for other people what the boundaries any particular individual wants to set for themselves. And that's, frankly, a little bit sociopathic. You don't get to choose for someone else what they choose to keep private. The fact that a celebrity is a celebrity means they're probably going to get photographed when they're going to the coffee shop, and the rest of us would not. But it doesn't mean that they don't have any rights over their own bodies. That's a lot like saying, well, if a celebrity gets raped or if a celebrity gets stalked or a celebrity gets killed, what did she expect? I mean, she's out there in the public eye and people are really interested. It makes no sense.
Absolutely. I want to pull up a quick comment right now from someone in our community. This is from Linda J, who says, how come we never see hacked pics of men? This is another instance of disrespect for women. And I want to bring up a point from Scott Mendelson, who wrote in Forbes that the hack isn't a scandal. It's a sex crime that not only harms the victim's reputation, but could also impact their careers. He says it is a loss in a business sense as well, if only because sadly an actress's body and the titillation that it theoretically brings is one of her most important assets to Hollywood. Carrie, is there any ground for financial damages in a situation like this?
Sure. I mean, this would probably be a public disclosure of private facts. This certainly could relate to the commercial value of celebrities' pictures. And this is probably one of the only contexts where it would work when we're talking about revenge porn or non-consensual distribution of pornography.
Pulling up another comment right now from Jeremy Simpson, who says, rights were most certainly abused. Even if a celebrity published nudity prior, they get paid to do so. So this isn't a leak. It is truly a theft. Marianne, going back to you, there's a problem that people have with a woman's agency all the time, a woman's sexual agency. It was her choice to take these photos for herself, but they say she's a celebrity. She lets photos like this get taken all the time, or like, she posed nude for this before. She posed almost nude for this before. Why is it a big deal if she's nude here? Neglecting the fact that it is her choice in this or that situation, right?
Exactly. And again, if you just take any other example, if you say, well, I own this car, but I let someone borrow it a couple of times, that means I don't own the car anymore. And so if you just want to come by my house and take my car, I can't complain about that because occasionally I've let other people drive my car. And I mean, we understand that when it comes to really basic things like property. Now we're talking about something even more important. And this rush to sort of give this equation between women's bodies and property is very sad, that we don't even have the basic protections we would afford to property to give to women's bodies. But really, I really think we should focus on how damaging this message is. What this message is that a woman's body, once ever exposed to anyone, means that she is free game for anybody. It's open season on her if she's ever taken her clothes off. That's really what this message is. And that's a message that's getting sent not just to celebrities, it's getting sent to our entire culture about all women, and all men and boys are being given this idea that, oh, she says that she's inaccessible or she looks inaccessible, but you can take that away from her at any second. And when you do it, she's going to be blamed for it.
Is that what you mean by, okay, one second, sorry, Charlotte. Marianne, is that what you mean by open season, is the blame?
I think open season, both in terms of the fact that this hack and these types of things happen and the blaming that comes after. After all, it is important to note that men have plenty of intimate pictures of themselves too. Some studies even suggest that they send intimate images more often than women do. But there is no demand. There's no similar demand for these images. The message that is sent by people even engaging in the hacking to begin with, or choosing to take vengeance on an ex-partner by using their photographs. This is all about vengeance. This is all about saying, you are denying me access to something I think I have a right to. So that is fueling the phenomenon itself, and it's fueling the victim blaming that comes after.
Absolutely. Charlotte, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say there's a huge repercussion to targeting women in this way, too, because they are being edged off the Internet. They are being silenced. And we like to talk about free speech on the internet and everybody gets a chance to talk. But that isn't the case when you are targeting women and they then are leaving the platform because they are being harassed, they're being bullied, they're being embarrassed and humiliated. And so what you have on the internet is you have often the nastiest and loudest voices rather than all the voices.
Mm-hmm. Martin, talk to me about the practicals. There's apparently a celebrity sex hacking ring that has been sharing these photos around for weeks now. This isn't a new hack. Some of these photos may have existed for years at this point, because this ring may have existed for this long, and they've been sharing photos for financial purposes. It was like a small crew that you could only get into if you had photos to share, if you had a lot of money, right?
Yeah. So, well, it's still kind of emerging as into the details. These images emerged over the last few days on 4chan, the bulletin board service, where images are shared about all sorts of things, both clean and very much not safe for work. And they tend to appear for very short amounts of time on there, and everything is anonymous on there, which has certainly helped people get those images out there, I think, because there's no way to trace back to them. And also the images are deleted after a certain amount of time. All the posts on 4chan are deleted. So I think it's going to take some digging to really find out what's happened here. I just think it's worth pointing out the rights thing. I think celebrities should expect a certain amount of scrutiny that they wouldn't get if they were just the average person on the street. But this definitely goes beyond that scrutiny. This is criminal behavior, and even if it isn't technically a crime in the location where it's committed, it's certainly a moral crime. There's
apparently a young man who some of this is already being slightly pinned to. Bryant allegedly posted that he had these photos, right? And now he's saying that he wasn't necessarily one of the hackers. Others are saying that they can trace him back to being one of the hackers, originally part of the ring. What is going on right there?
Well, this is a process of something called doxing, where if there's somebody who has been kind of put out there as being involved in something, and a group of let's say hackers are wanting to find out more about them, they will go into all sorts of forms of research to make public as much information about them as possible. So that there has been some of that going on here. Doxing. So it kind of amateur detective work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's entirely possible, because some of the victims are saying that they were photoshopped. I think it's possible that some of the pictures are actual hacked pictures and others are morphed porn. Because I do believe that the hackers, in many cases, they do this for status. And so if they have 10 pictures, real pictures of celebrities nude, that's great. But if they have 101, that's a greater status for them in the eyes of their peers. And so it's entirely possible that some of these are fabricated pictures.
I want to pull up a tweet right now from Lena Dunham, who said the "don't take naked pics if you don't want them online" argument is she was wearing a short skirt of the web. Ugh. Carrie, can you talk about that a little bit for me? Because so often people when they hear that, someone just a little while ago heard me say that, and they said, "Come on, it's not the same thing. It's completely different." Can you answer that for me?
I completely agree with Lena Dunham's comment there. And I think it's reprehensible how self-righteous people feel when, they claim this would never happen to me because I don't, take nude pictures and I don't send them around, because, as Charlotte mentioned, there are situations where photos are doctored. Some of these I've had clients come to me where bikini shots that had been posted on Facebook suddenly were on revenge porn sites with the bikini replaced by double Ds. She's totally right on. And, it's just a tone deaf reaction to kind of say, na, this would never happen to me. This happened to you. It's like, responding to your friend who was just in a crippling car accident saying, this never would have happened to me because I always wear my seatbelt.
Yeah, I completely understand.
And there was a victim that I contacted whose pictures had been hacked from her doctor's office. So she had breast surgery, and there were bandaged pictures of her breasts that appeared on the website, and you could see her nipples. I mean, it was really embarrassing for her. And are you going to say that's her fault, that someone hacked into her doctor's computer and stole her pictures? I mean, I really think it's amazing nerve that people have blaming the victims in these cases.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. There was a hashtag, and I got to wrap out of here in just a second. There was a hashtag going around yesterday that said, if my phone was hacked, and it made me think immediately that if my phone was hacked, I joke around with my phone. I do funny stuff with my phone that's simply between me and a close friend, or me and between someone I'm dating, that is meant for humor or for whatever reason I mean it to be. If my phone was hacked, there are personal journal entry notes there that help me get ideas, but are weird and kind of personal and sort of like a raw nerve and a wound. There are weird photos that I have taken or that I've copied from Google image search and tweeted to people or texted to people that would only make sense within the context of my friendship. It would be so embarrassing. And I mean, I'm not even a celebrity, so no one's going to hack my phone. Hopefully no one's watching this and is going to hack my phone. But it immediately made me feel for these people. And to blame them for it is, I think it's extremely harmful. Carrie, Marianne, Martin, Charlotte, thanks for talking to me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And you can read more from our guests by clicking in the links in our resource well below. Stick around, we got a lot more coming up on HuffPost Live.